government as well as the Department of Health here for all their great work. I also want to thank Senator Boyd and Representative Robinson for being here today. We're going to highlight some of the exciting developments that we've seen here in our collaboration with the county. Before I do that, I just want to make a quick statement. You know, in September, I was the first governor in the country to propose legislation to really deal with some of the disorder and violent assemblies and rioting that we have been seeing throughout our country. I thought that you needed to have strong penalties, and I 100% support people's right to be able to get together and protest and say what's on their mind. The minute that crosses over, I think there needs to be penalties. And so I think what you saw yesterday was a good example of taking a rally and having certain views and then going in to storm the Capitol like was done. It was totally unacceptable, and those folks need to be held accountable. And it doesn't matter what banner you're flying under. The violence is wrong. The rioting and the disorder is wrong. We're not going to tolerate it in Florida. I hope maybe now we'll get even more support for my legislation because it's something that needs to be done. You can have strong views. You can be disappointed in an election. You can be disappointed in whatever, but you can't just go in and ransack public places like that. And so we're going to make sure that the folks who do that in Florida, if they do that they're going to face very quick penalties. So today I want to highlight a county-led vaccination site right here in Bradenton's Tom Bennett Park when the vaccines were distributed at the end of December. Manatee County had already been preparing to be able to provide vaccines for folks in their community. And so they came and asked the state to be able to support those efforts with vaccine allotments. And that was something that we were happy to do. And so here, what you see is a very well-run, very efficient operation. They're going to knock out 700 vaccinations today, and they're focusing on seniors age 65 and up, frontline healthcare workers, as well as paramedics and EMTs. And so the drive-through portion is for seniors. Everyone else does more of a walk-up. 8 to 9 is reserved for frontline healthcare workers that have the proper ID. And they're also going to be late tonight launching a new portal at mymanatee.org/vaccine so folks can sign up. Now, they're doing it, I think, in a smart way. You know, you don't have to rush to do it because you do it, it goes into a lottery, and then they do it just to try to decompress some of the crush that you see on these systems when things like that first go online. But we're happy with what they're doing. We're glad to have been provided them with vaccine. You know, I told my folks to make sure we continue sending vaccine to this area in this vaccine site because they're making good use of it. And I think they have the capacity to expand this. And as we get more vaccine, we definitely want to see them expand it. I've asked to have, right now we're scheduled for our next shipment statewide to get about 250,000 doses split between Pfizer and Moderna, which, if you look at the clip that it's going now, we probably can use a lot more than that now that we have a lot of hospitals really ramping up and some other things going on. So I've asked the feds to get some more. I think we have a variety of ways to be able to get these in the communities. And our focus, of course, the first 3 weeks was nursing homes, long-term care, and then healthcare workers. Most hospitals have done their key frontline healthcare workers and vaccinated them. In fact, many of them now have even completed the series by doing the booster shot as well, and that's very, very good. We were able to knock out over 100 nursing homes the first week before CVS and Walgreens got ramped up. Now CVS and Walgreens is continuing that mission, but we also, starting today, are going to do even more in that space because we want to make it go as quickly as possible. So 4,000 facilities in the state of Florida. I think you have, not all of them are skilled nursing facilities, but all various forms of long-term care. So that mission continues, and we're putting muscle behind it to try to get through it as quickly as possible. But as you've done that, and as hospitals have gotten through their workers, what you're now seeing is hospitals being more aggressive with offering vaccinations to our senior citizens, and that's our top priority at this point. understanding most of the healthcare workers have had access, and the long-term care mission is ongoing because they're the most vulnerable to COVID-19. If you look, the number one age group so far that has received it in terms of the plurality in Florida is 65 to 74. And then 75, 80, 84 has got in excess of their proportion of the population, and same with 85 and plus in terms of how the vaccine's being distributed. So the age is going to continue to skew older in terms of who's getting the shots, and that's the best strategy to be able to reduce mortality, reduce hospital admissions, and so that's the laser focus. And so what Manatee's doing is doing a lot for that. I was in Miami yesterday with a similar site at Hard Rock Stadium that had been a big testing site. Now we're using that for vaccines in addition to testing, and they're going to be doing at least 1,000 a day. And then you have other sites that we're working with some of the hospitals where you're going to be able to get through those types of numbers. We also partnered with Publix, and so today in 3 counties, Hernando, Citrus, and Marion counties, folks are able to make an appointment to go to a Publix pharmacy. So there's 22 Publix with pharmacies identified in those 3 counties, and Publix is going to look to do between 100 and 125 shots at each one, and that's something that I think is going to be effective because particularly our seniors are going to the grocery store. It's convenient. It's in every community in the state of Florida, and it makes it easier than having to potentially drive halfway across town to go to a site like a drive-through site, which is great, but you can't put a drive-through site on every corner. So we have identified doses for Publix, distributed doses for Publix. We think that that's going to be well received and it'll be successful, and so we're looking at potentially expanding that as a way to offer a vaccine to senior citizens in a way that's convenient and that's easy for them. We're also looking to bring vaccinations to folks in communities at places where they trust, such as houses of worship. And so I was in the Panhandle yesterday, and we've partnered with providing vaccines to one of the local hospitals. They're working with local officials, church and community leaders, and they're getting through at 2 different sites 1,000 a day at each site. We're going to be working with more churches, synagogues, and other places of worship. You know, part of the vaccine issue is we see a really big demand, particularly among seniors right now. And I mean, obviously, we're going to continue to see that. It'll go down as more seniors get vaccinated. But you do see different levels of demand in different communities, you know, race, ethnicity, some of that stuff. So we just want to be able to bring it to folks' communities, have leaders that they trust talk about why it would be a good thing, and then try to make sure that the numbers are strong, you know, across all the demographics. And so you'll be seeing more of that very, very soon. But I think that the decision to focus on our senior citizens is the right one. I can tell you, folks are happy to be able to get this done. There's most states in the country right now, you know, if you're 71, you're not even eligible to get vaccinated right now. And some haven't even opened it up beyond healthcare workers in nursing homes yet. And so we're seeing our numbers go up every day. The capacity is increasing every day. And as we get more supply, I can then send more to Manatee County so that they can take their existing infrastructure and do even more. So all in all, I think that we appreciate what they're doing here. We think they're doing it right. We want to continue to support that, and that's kind of the overriding objective I've given to my logistics folks and emergency management is, look, let's get it to, if someone can get the shots in the arms, particularly of seniors, then let's facilitate that. What we don't want is to have someone sit on vaccine for 2 or 3 weeks and not use it. And so there's vaccine being moved around every day. Some counties, you know, aren't moving as fast, and there's nothing against it. So there's reasons why you may not be moving as fast. But if you have 2 weeks worth, we know we're going to continue to get more. So let's take some of that and send that to places that are going to be doing a good job and doing it quickly. So thanks, Manatee. We appreciate what you're doing. I'm going to be able to go help. We're going to do a couple other sites today. I'm going to be down in Indian River County. Then I'm also going to be on the east coast of Florida as well. So we're starting to see, and I think what you're seeing is the hospitals that were one of the first 5 that got the Pfizer, they were a little bit ahead of all the other hospitals just because they were able to vaccinate and they were working on their staffs. Now you're starting to see the hospitals that got the Moderna basically right before Christmas. They had to work on their staffs. A lot of the staff weren't there New Year's, Christmas. So they've gotten in a better place there. And now you're starting to see some of those institutions out really being active and really, again, with the focus on senior citizens. So let's keep going forward. Let's work collaboratively from local, state, and federal, and let's continue to put seniors first. Thanks. Questions? Well, what I've said is you can file suits. There's political ways to do it. In no way, have I ever supported any type of lawlessness or anything like that. So that's totally antithetical. Again, I'm the first governor to really take this very seriously with my legislation. Not everyone agreed with that legislation. There were some people trying to say it wasn't a big deal to have some of these things going on. If you go back to the summer, some of the commentary, I disagreed with that, but I don't care what banner you're flying. If you're engaging in that conduct, we're going to hold you accountable. Yeah, when there's a need, we want to fill the need for sure. I think you're going to start seeing, these doses get used, and I think there's going to be less that are going to be sitting on the shelf all across the state very soon. That's why we've asked, can you double our allotment for next week? Because we have the infrastructure now to where if I put that in, I'm pretty confident they're going to get it. So what happens is once we get the final numbers for the week, again, we're scheduled at about 250 between both. We think that's what will happen. There's a system that they go. We figure out when it's going to ship, and we usually get them on either Monday or Tuesday. But what the state has done with emergency management is if there's a county that has 2 weeks worth, they are moving it around to folks who are able to use it. So some hospitals, I think there's a mix. You're starting to see this week in particular because everyone's back from the holidays. So some of them have been able to really ramp up. And so they've asked us, hey, I told you I could do 10,000 this week. I actually can probably do 20,000. Can you move more vaccines? So that has happened. And there are some hospitals that weren't using as much. And some of those, we've asked to kind of help out. But I think that you're starting to see everyone getting a pretty good groove. And remember, the allotments we have, there's tens of thousands of doses additional that are at CVS and Walgreens for the long-term care mission. And so they're going on a schedule, and that is what it is. And then there's also a lag in the reporting. And so if you look at one county and they say there's X number of shots, there's surely more than that because sometimes this stuff takes 72 hours to trickle in to everything. And so that's, I think, the nature of what we're dealing with. But we the first couple weeks, particularly over the holidays, there were definitely some hospitals, that had a lot of supply. And if you look at like New Year's Eve and New Year's and Christmas Day, there weren't a lot of shots being administered at hospitals on those days, but you kind of understand why that was the case. So, yes, ma'am. Last one. So the question is how long will it take to vaccinate everyone 65 and older? So we have 4.4 million folks who are 65 and older. Not all of them are going to want it. Now, we think the majority are going to want it, but not all of them are going to want it. We've gone into nursing homes, and we've had some nursing homes where 90% take it. There's been others where 50% of the residents took it. And so that's a choice people are going to make. So you're looking at, we would say a minimum of 3 million are going to want it, right? So if you look at how the numbers go, and as we get into a groove, the vast majority of shots from here on out are likely going to be senior citizens. I mean, the vast majority. And so we want to go, all these sites, we want 7 days a week. We're trying to hit strong numbers. Here's what I know. We're going to do significantly more shots this week than last week throughout the state. And we will do, as long as we get more supply, we'll do more shots next week. than we've done this week. And so that's the type of momentum that I think we want to continue. We're going to be going to more senior communities and getting into those communities, especially. I think we're working on some stuff in Central Florida, and they just want to make sure that they're doing it right. So it's going to, you can look at those numbers and just see it. And keep in mind, if you look at what was yesterday, check again 3 days, because they keep adding as reporting trickles in. It doesn't happen instantaneously, unfortunately. So I think you're going to continue to see the numbers go up. And I mean, if you're at a situation where you're at 50,000 shots a day on average, that's a pretty good chunk that you're going to be able to do. So our goal is to get it done as quickly as possible. We will be back soon, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, of course I believe it'll get better. The reality is, I think the numbers here were, we had 379,000 people apply for 300 or 400 shots. So there's just an enormous volume of need and desire. And our county in particular, I can speak to, has implemented new things just even as recent as yesterday. And the governor spoke to it on the portals and getting in, but then also the phone calls. They've added, I think, 30 people to a phone bank to accept phone calls for, to get them registered to get into the portal for the, the lottery on the drawing. So more doses, as the governor said, are coming our way. I think Manatee County has demonstrated the ability to handle those and to ramp that up. I mean, obviously you see the long lines behind us, which demonstrates a lot of need and desire for the shot. So I know myself, Representative Robinson, Representative Gregory in Manatee County, we've been on the phone with the governor's office regularly, with the Department of Emergency Management, Director Moskowitz and his team. We can take the volume of shots if you can get them to us, because obviously the demand is there.
Senator Boyd, as a state legislator, what was your reaction to the images out of Washington, D.C. yesterday?
It's horrible. I've said at my age, sadly not a lot surprises me anymore. That shocked me. I was literally sick to my stomach. I can't believe that those Americans would attack our democracy like they did. We can't stand for it. We can't let it happen. Thankfully, they got it under control. Sadly, some people lost their lives as a result of it, which is tragic and horrible. I just couldn't believe the images as I was watching them on the news throughout the day. It just really, really saddened my heart to see that Americans acting like that. Well, I can't speak for the executive branch, but I know Governor DeSantis takes this very seriously. And as he outlined in some of the legislation he's proposing, we're not going to allow that in Florida, and we're going to deal with it swiftly and judiciously. Well, I did not know that. That's the first I've heard of that. I don't care where they're from. That is intolerable, and we shouldn't stand for it. I'm sad that it's perhaps somebody from our community that would be there, but there's nothing right about what they did. Nothing right about it. And as you watch people crash through windows and climb in, and the destruction and the terror that had to be in everyone's hearts and souls as that was going on, I just couldn't imagine it. So I hope. Well, it's sad if it is one of ours, but definitely they don't act like us in Manatee County if that's what they did. Mm-hmm. That's a good question. Of course, I'm favorable about what's going on in Manatee County because they've adjusted on the fly. They've adjusted to the demand, and they've adjusted to the complications that we've had very effectively. The reality is most everybody, not everyone, as the governor said, most everybody wants this vaccine as soon as it's available. So the demand is incredible, and the supply is short. And it's like, bread on the shelves in the supermarkets. When people think there's a shortage, they're going after it quickly. So it's hard to adjust on the fly, but I know Manatee County has done a great job of that. I think we'll get better and better as the days roll on. And I know that the communities across the state of Florida are trying to do the same thing, but I'm very proud of our community and how they've handled it. I haven't accessed that personally, so I'm not familiar, detail by detail on it. I think there's been some complications there, but they're working very hard on getting those resolved and making that more accessible and available too.